optimal policy example. So here we have the page address string 232.152 and so on. There are list of numbers. We are going to assume this as the reference page reference numbers, which the CPU is going to request for, and we assume that our main memory has only 3 frames. So initially we are not going to mark this page request as a page fault, though it is not available in the main memory. So we are going to make a count starting from this point, because it is an replacement policy. So where exactly a replacement is required, so we will make a note a page fault, but still you can say that it's a page fault, it is not available, but there is no need of a page replacement as it is the main memory is free. So you can keep on filling one after another if you find there are free frames. So initially we are not going to mark it as a page fault. So in optimal policy, first 2, so initially the 3 frames are free, so we have placed 2 into the very first slot. Next is 3. Yes, 3 is placed at the frame number 2, and again 2. So here there is no need to bring 2 again, as it is already available in the main memory, so the CPU can make use of those page for execution. So it moves on to the next. So the next requested page is 1, so it will be accommodated into the frame number 3. So at this moment, make a note, up to this the frame is completely filled. So now from this moment, if a new page is requested by CPU, if it is not available in the main memory, so we call it as a page fault. So now 231 resides in main memory. Now the next requested page is 5, so 5 is not available, so a page fault occurs. As the page is not available, we call it as a page fault. So now here comes the point prediction. So you need to make a room by replacing any one of this 231, the page number 231, any one of this page have to give a room for the page number 5. So for it you need to find out of this number. So it is prediction, because anyhow this is not happened yet, but these all are the future references, right? This reference is going to become in future, but the operating system needs to predict this earlier. So hope you understand it is impossible by any operating system to predict in which order the page request may arrive. So that's why in the previous slide there is a point that the optimal page replacement policy is practically impossible to implement. So now, so as we know, we have it's an example, so we are going to go through this by having this string. So we have this, so let you assume that we have predicted it. Okay, so 2 4 5 3 are the string, so we need to make a room for 5. So let's see, the main memory is filled with 231. So after 5, 2 is going to be referenced immediately. The next immediate request will be 2, so the 2 has to be in main memory. Next is 4 is not there, 5 is not there, and 3, yes, 3. So 2 3 are, so first 2 comes, then 3, then thereafter 1 may come, but in our list it is not there. So 2 3 have to be in the list, so you can't replace 2 and 3. So directly you can go for to target the page number 1. So the page number 1 is at the place 3 will be replaced by page number 5. So see here it is notified, it is here notified, F, a fault occurs. So we have replaced 1 with 5. 1 first page fault. Next is 2. So at this point 2 is in the main memory, so there were no page fault. The next is 4. So for 4, 2, 3, 5, and the CPU's requests for that is it is trying to reference page number 4. It is not available in the main memory. So again we need to go for check these references. After 4, 5, 3, 2, 5, 2, these are the future references. So now it goes for which particular page can be targeted so that it can make a room for it. So 235 out of 235, 5 cannot be because 5 is going to be referenced soon after 4. Then 3. So yes, obviously the 2 will be targeted because before after 5 and 3 the 2 appears, so the preference goes for 5 and 3. So 2 is replaced. So see here it is marked F, and 2 is replaced by 4. So now 4 have got a room. So again 5, then 3. At this point it is 3. So next is 2. So as 2 is not available, so here you need to make a room by considering what are all the future reference are 5 and 2. So 5 and 2 will be marked here. So the next is so the next is there is no page fault as it is available in the main memory, so it just goes the way. So 5 and 2 will be here, so the number 4 will be replaced. So now instead of 4, 2 is going to have a room at this place, then 5 is there and 2, so this goes in this form. So finally you can find that a page fault occurs at the place here and here and as here. So now you can solve this by considering it as the page by considering 4 page frames. So let you try as a homework so that you can understand better. So hope you understand optimal policy and why it is has a practical problem to implement, as this needs a future reference. That is, it needs to cleverly predict what may be the future references the CPU may need. So the next replacement policy is least recently used. So it replaces the page that has not referenced for a longest time. So it is going to use how frequently it is using those pages. So it is going to check this when it is referenced by making a note of that the time at which it is utilized. So the least recently used will be targeted for to make a room for the new pages. So here by the principles of locality, this should be the page least likely to be referenced in the near future. So difficult to implement. One approach is to tag each page with the time of the last reference. So as if you want to target the least recent, here you have to make a note of the time at which each page is referenced so that the algorithm can easily target the page which is referenced long time ago. So this requires a great deal of overhead as it needs to keep track of the timing. If it is 3 or 4 pages, for an example, it will be easy to sort out which particular pages are least recently used. But in real time in the operating system, it is a very tougher task to keep track of all pages time. So it is a little overhead for the operating system. So example, the same reference strings, page address streams are used for LRU. So 2, 3, 2, when it goes on. So here the same way, the initially we are not going to mark any of this the page request as a page fault. So we will try to fill until it completely occupies the memory. So 2, 3, 2 and 1. So up to this point we were not marking it as a page fault as it doesn't need any page replacement. Then at this point the 5, when 5 comes into the reference, page fault occurs. As at this point, see, the earlier references, the earlier position of the pages are 2, 3, 1. So now we need to make a room for 5. So now least recently used. So now you need to go in backwards. So you need to look at this point. Say in earlier case, in optimal, we have considered this part because the future reference is required. But here in least recently, so the principles of locality, we need to know that the pages called in which order in the earlier, that is used, least recently used. So now if you go in backwards, one is referenced just before this 5 and 2 is referenced just before it. So these two are not least recent, it is used just prior to this 5. So 1, 2 cannot be. So the 3 can be targeted because it is least recent. Out of this 2, 3, 1, 1 and 2 are used just before this 5, but the 3 is used a long time ago. So we call it as a least recent. It is the least recent. So it is targeted. So at this point, see the page number 3, the place where it is resides, it is removed. So we have got a room for 5. So we mark it as a page fault. So we have made a room for 5. And next reference string is 2. So 2 is already in the position, the first place in the memory. So there were no page fault. The next 4. So as 4 comes at this point, now we need to make a room for 4 as at this point. So now we need to look back. So now take a look of this. So now you need to see what are all the pages resides in the memory. So it is 2, 5 and 1. So 2 and 5 are used just before 4. So 1 is the least. Out of those 3, 1 is the least recent. So the frame in which the 1 is resides at the last position, so it is targeted. So by removing 1, we have made a room for number 4. So here we have marked it as a page fault occurred and successfully we have found a place for 4. Then next is number 5. So already 5 is in the main memory, so there is no page fault. And next 3. So here comes a next burden to find a place for 3. So now again look back at this portion. So at this point you have to check 254. So out of 254, 5 is referenced just before it, and as well 4. So now 2 is targeted. So the first place 2 will be removed, and we will make a room for page number 3. So see, here we have found a room for 3. So right now the main memory has page number 354. Then next, number 2. So number 2, again the page fault occurs. As after this page fault, immediately page number 2 is requested by CPU. So 3542 is not available, a page fault occurs. So again you need to work out to find which pages of least recent. So 3 5 are used just before this. So number 4 is targeted. So number 4 is going to be removed. So got a room for number 2, page number 2. So here too we have a page fault. Successfully we have replaced 4 with 2. Then after that 5 it's there, and 3. So this is how the page replacement algorithm LRU, least recently used, goes. Hope you have understood. So let you try with same, just by assuming number of frames in the main memory as 4. Let you try, give a try for it. Then the very simplest form of page replacement algorithm, first in first out. By hearing the name, I hope you will able to solve in the first try. Very narrow manner it is going to allot the frames for pages. So it will looks like a round robin style, very simplest form of policy implementation. So we can call or define this by page that has been in the memory longest is replaced. So out of 3 pages, 1 2 3, so obviously the first one have resided long time, so this will be targeted for giving a space for new page. But a problem may occur because we are not going to take into the account of the locality of reference and the recently whether it is used or near future the particular page may be used. So without considering all these factors, if we have just taken the longest time residing process for giving a room for new, so it is quite critical for the operating system. May expect the number of page fault may increase. So in FIFO, first in first out example, say usually we are not going to consider this as page fault until the main memory completely fills its frame. So at this point the main memory is completely filled with pages. So at this point, up to this point, there were no page fault. So now 5. So hope the 2, as 2 is the very first one which entered into, out of those 3, 2 is the very first one, or you can say that 2 resides in this memory for a longer time than 3 and 1. So 2 is targeted. Next 2, so after this the reference number is of the CPU is requesting for number 2. So out of 5 3 1, 3 is the longest one, or you can say that 3 has entered before 1 and 5. So 3 is targeted. So here you can find 3 is giving a room for 2, so 5 to 1. Then next 4, even 4 was not in the main memory, so again you need to find out of 5 to 1 which one is going to be targeted. Yes, it is 1, and 1 is targeted, so 5 to 4. So consecutively there are 3 page fault occurred, then 5 it's there. So let's move on to the next reference string 3. So 5 to 4. So out of this 5 to 4, the 5 is the longest time handsome page, so the 5 is targeted now. So after this 3 2 4, again 2, so it is there in the main memory, so there were no page fault. Again 5, so out of this 3 to 4, 2 is the longest time stayed in the memory, so 2 is targeted. Again 2 is required, now 4 will be replaced. So now if you have taken into the account the which particular page out of 3, whenever a page fault occurs, you need to just look out of those 3 which page is entered into this memory long time ago, that is first. So which particular page will be targeted for making a room for new pages.